Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about one of Zero's best in slot weapons, the Day Off. It's going to be an S rank weapon that you can obtain by jumping through a little bit of hoops in the game, but you can get it completely free to play. I'm also going to mention just briefly talking about Zero's other best in slot weapon. However, it is slightly pay to win at $2.99. So we'll talk about that more in a bit. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So in order to get the Day Off, which is what a lot of people would recommend giving to Zero as their best in slot weapon, we're going to need to jump through some hoops and kind of do a little bit of a mini quest. Okay, so first things first, we're going to need to go into the Bureau of Anomaly Control, and then over here on the right you're going to be able to see this anomaly named Eclipse. So from there you do need to talk to her, and if you can't interact with her right away, you do need to make sure that it is both sunny and pretty early in the morning. Between 8 and 10 a.m. in the morning should work. After that, she'll actually be available to talk to, and then you can go about the quest afterwards. But we do need to kind of talk to her first and trigger it. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to follow her around to several locations in the city and more or less kind of teach her about life here in Hetheru. Now, the next location is actually going to be pretty close to where you guys start off in the story. So you can go ahead and teleport over to Avon and then run back down to the film studio that we did in the first real quest line with the Avon team. After that, we do need to climb up to the roof above the main entrance, and she should be standing there. Note that if she's not standing there, and she wasn't when I teleported over here, double check again that it is both sunny and between 8 and 10 a.m. And if it's not, then you're going to want to just wait for the following day at that same time, and she should show up. That's what happened to me. Now, the next location is actually going to be the Oops chest in the upper left-hand corner, and this is going to take place in Illusion Town. So again, in that upper left-hand corner of Illusion Town, you can teleport to the Wartheimer Tower over there and then just kind of run over to the gift shop, the Oops chest gift shop, and then go ahead and climb to the top, and then she should be waiting for you there. Again, double check that it's sunny, double check that it's 8 to 10 a.m. For the next location, we actually want to go back to Avon once again, but this time we're going to go a little bit more closer to the beach. But it is still pretty close to the original Photoshop where we again had that quest, and we already met Eclipse once. Once you get down to the road, it should be pretty easy to see where she's at, but essentially she's right across from the train crossing of where you originally come with Mint when you first start the game. After you leave the Anomaly Bureau for the first time and you and Mint start heading over to Avon for the first time, she's essentially right over in that area. Now from here, we essentially need to climb the Golden Gate Bridge. So in case you didn't know, this is just kind of what I refer to as this bridge, but it's the big obvious bridge that you can see out in the distance from the previous location on the way over to the Bureau for Anomaly Control. And you can just run up these lines that are kind of holding up the arches and then just climb up the middle. I would recommend actually rotating yourself once you can to make sure you have the bridge underneath you in case you do end up falling. It is a little bit of a climb, but once you get to the top, she's just up there waiting for you, and this is more or less the final location. After this, we do just go back to the Bureau for Anomaly Control and talk to her once again, and she'll end up giving you the Day Off. So the Day Off is going to give us an extra action button on G1 here, and then when we use it for that duration, it's going to give energy back when we get a kill. So I think the best way to maybe check it out would be to see if we can not kill anything here. There we go. And then it's already active, so you should be able to see its energy regeneration here for G1 as we're kind of killing these mobs, and it does seem like it is helping a bit, so I think that's going to be pretty valuable for a lot of characters, and you could use this on Zero if you want to. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, why do I have G1 using Zero's best in slot weapon for this test? There's a couple of different things that play here. So part of the reason why this is so good is because charge efficiency, right, is going to help you get your ultimate faster, right? And that's not really something that I have an issue with on Zero, because Zero is kind kind of the cornerstone, I think, of the instant cycle blossom, like any kind of team build. She is actively on the field quite a lot using her skill and then switching out. Because of that, she's going to constantly be generating her own ultimate much faster than other characters. I feel like I don't have any need for charge efficiency. I would say out of all of my characters, actually, I'm probably using her ultimate the most by far, and so she wouldn't really be getting as much value, I feel like, out of the charge efficiency. That being said, this weapon is also great for a couple of other reasons. So the increased attack percentage is obviously amazing. The S rank giving higher base stat is going to be valuable, and then also there is the extra action button, like I showed before, that does help give you extra ultimate energy when you do defeat targets during that 40-second window. Again, she's not really someone that I feel like I need that ultimate energy regeneration on. Out of all my characters, like I said, she seems to be the one that generates the fastest, and again, that's because I'm constantly switching to her in order to use her skill basically off cooldown to switch to either GU1 or Mint to get another blossom on the field and be doing more damage. So again, I kind of just pivot back to her constantly over and over again. That being said, I do feel like energy efficiency could actually help someone like GU1, and then of course her extra attack is going to be even better eventually when we do get the ability to heal, and that's kind of the role that I'm using her as in this team. Is she's going to be my like attack based healer in the end. Not to mention, I just don't have GU1's arc yet. Now, I think technically the way that it's worded doesn't necessarily mean that only the wielder will get that ultimate energy. However, in practice, it hasn't really been obvious enough where I was able to determine if that was the case or not. If you do happen to know, leave it in the comments down below. I would love to get some kind of confirmation on that. But from testing it with Mint, for example, even when I did kill other enemies, she attacks so quickly that it's hard to figure out if it's giving her an extra little bit of energy, and it might be. Maybe when you get this to, you know, max rank mixing, maybe that will make it more effective and give you more of a bump. But at least at level 1, the ultimate energy gain doesn't really seem to be that much. Just kind of know that it is probably helping you in the background. I do want to take a minute though and talk about what I actually think is Zero's best in slot weapon, and that's going to be the Rain That Shook the World. Now, this is one that is somewhat pay to win, but not nearly as bad as you probably think. So this is part of a bundle in the shop right here. It is $2.99, and I think by purchasing this bundle, you actually get the ability to get the extra duplicates in here, or you can actually fully level this weapon up just by spending that $2.99 and then passively over time with these additional keys if you want to. Now, I personally think I probably will, and there's a couple of reasons behind that. So one, crit rate weapons are always good in any kind of game like this. Crit rate and crit damage end up being very, very strong, and also so does elemental damage. So in this case, I think this is probably going to be what I use going forward for the Cosmos version of the main character, because like I said, Zero is probably going to get other elements later on down the line, but it's very, very strong. 30% damage on both ultimate and redirect skill, and then increases the wearer's cycle intensity by 36 for 15 seconds after casting a redirect skill. As I mentioned, I'm using Zero here in my Blossom team as a like cornerstone. I'm constantly switching back to Zero, using her skill, and then switching out for another Blossom. This just makes her cycle intensity that much more important, and I think this is going to ultimately end up playing out to be a lot more value for me personally in how I'm playing this team. Something I want to mention is that the way that cycle intensity works, it takes the higher value from the two characters that are cycling and uses that to calculate the damage. And since I'm stacking it on the MC and the weapon that I am using buffs their cycle intensity, it automatically means that we're going to be giving Blossom, for example, an extra 27% damage each time we create a Blossom with the MC involved, which I'm using for both Mint and GU1. Usually I'll have 2 Blossoms on field at minimum at all times, and so that does mean that the cycle intensity is helping kind of a bit for how much damage we're already doing even at this level, and I only expect that to go up and up and up as we get further into the game and have more stats and things like that. Also, not to mention, the special skin effect is pretty sweet. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys guys liked the video, leave a like down below. Comment down below if you guys think I'm crazy for using this weapon instead of the day off, or if you're a believer like me and love this weapon skin. Subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more stuff like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.